There's a comment on one of my previous videos. I'll link it here about projectors and dating apps. And sometimes what can happen here is people are following along on the YouTube channel, and sometimes the people who are really trying to live their design can get triggered by something that I have taught, and they'll take their feelings of frustration and anger and bitterness and disappointment and all the things. And they'll pour it into a reaction, their reaction into a comment, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's also understandable. Like I have reactions too. So if they're being nasty, I just delete it because I want this to be a really productive space that's meaningful and benefits everyone. But sometimes a person's reaction points to something really useful, and that it's worth sharing with the rest of the community as a learning opportunity. So that's what I'm going to do today. Now, I'm guessing the person who shared this comment wasn't happy leaving their reaction there in public, because when I went to acknowledge it a couple of days later, it had been deleted. So I won't be sharing any of the viewers' username or channel anywhere, because I really want to respect their privacy and their decision to remove it. But I do want to use their comment anonymously to share a few very important lessons that may help you if you're a projector who is struggling to understand this whole invitation thing. Because there were some points that they made in there that I realize I haven't ever addressed directly in a video. So this video is going to be helpful for you if you have a projector spouse, child, business partner, or a client, as it's going to give you some insights into how challenging it can be to really surrender into following our human design strategy. And of course, if you're a projector who's any version of new to human design and you're like, this strategy sucks, then this video is for you. Now, before we dive in, if we haven't met before, I'm Carolyn Southwell. I'm a 2/4 emotional projector, and I have been actively experimenting with human design for more than a decade. And I have served more projector clients than any other type. So I know us and our process really, really well. Now, I'm often referring to pre-written notes, so I'll write really comprehensive notes before these videos to make sure that I include all the important things. But my undefined throat tends to like to go on little side quests and adventures and stuff, which isn't always the best use of your time. So to value your time, please give me some grace as I look at my notes. So I'm going to put this person's long comment on the screen so that we can read it together. Please note I have made some tiny changes, just because sometimes spelling, grammar, the particular way somebody's phrased something, especially if they're having a reaction, they haven't quite, their words get a bit jumbled or they're a little bit hard to understand. So I've kept the essence and the question and even the things that they were like really strongly pushing back against me. It is 95% the same, but I just want you to know that I have tweaked it slightly, and you'll see my highlighted section so that I can draw your attention to the bits I really want you to notice. So before I start sharing screen, I just want you to know that the very first sentence on this won't make a lot of sense to you if you haven't watched the previous video. So let me just explain before we go to all the text. It says, I don't know how to believe someone inviting you to a dating app means anything. What they're referencing is that in the dating app video, what I had mentioned is that in a very rare, strange set of circumstances, it is possible that a projector might get invited to get on a dating app. And I have heard of projectors getting invited into doing all sorts of weird and wild things that have been totally correct for them. So that is the context in which this person's comment started, in that was the very first thing they were pushing back on. But that's the reference there. So let's dive into the text. Okay, I don't know how to believe someone inviting you to a dating app means anything. Sounds awfully disempowering to me. Did they recognize first that you are a sad loser or look better in photos or just need to get laid? We're going to pick this apart. Bear with me. Can't we recognize that in ourselves? Is there a magic mechanism that makes us invisible to ourselves? Well, sure, others might have more potential to see our unconscious. Maybe that's where the point lies. Still, to me, and notice where I have italics, I think the importance of invitations is overblown. This person is not alone in that. And sometimes it is a unique form that just sounds like a cheesy, unneeded prerequisite to do something you already wanted to do. Pay attention. Okay. I like your content, by the way, your clarity, your experience, and upbeat energy. Thank you very much. And I'm just saying, I don't think life should be so formulaic. I'm feeling like it can be, and notice my bold here, recognize yourself. Then when you do, you'll know you are being recognized. I think it has a lot, or maybe everything to do with presence. And I think in the original one, it also said shared presence. So let's pull apart this excellent comment for learning purposes, shall we? And I really, really want to be clear. The whole point of this is not to shame this person. It is to pull apart their very excellent points and the places that they're tripping over, because I know they are not alone. And I know I felt a lot of these same ways in the first probably like 4 or 5 years of my experiment. I was feeling still so much of this stuff. So I really want you to know you're not alone if you feel this way. Okay. And if you're finding this video useful, give it a like. Maybe it'll help more projectors. That would be great. Okay, so I don't know how to believe that somebody inviting you to a dating app means anything. If you watch the video that I did, you'll know that projectors might get invited into a dating app or all sorts of weird situations, and then that would be correct for them. Sounds awfully disempowering to me. So, my thoughts on this. Projectors who don't understand the power of the human design strategy often find it disempowering. Key point. But as I mentioned in this video, and I'm going to link to experimenting with the projector strategy, so I'll make sure that I do that here in the video, where this is where you get to really understand how wait for the invitation is a blessing and not a curse. It truly is. And I won't actually bang on about that point too much because I've just recorded this other one about experimenting with the projector strategy. And even if I change the title, I'll make sure that I link it here because I spoke to this very clearly on this point. It really is a blessing and not a curse. But some of these things in human design, I can't just teach you. You have to go and experiment and find out for yourself. If I could just take a cord from my brain and plug it into your brain and give you all the stuff that it took me the last 11 years to work out, I would do it. It has been a journey. And sometimes it has been very painful. And this person is probably experiencing a lot of pain in trying to navigate this. So I have a lot of compassion. But I want you to know you have to, some of this stuff, you have to go and take it and play with it in your own real life and have a lived experience for yourself. And then you will know how it is a blessing and not a curse. But I will keep finding different ways to repeat it to you because I really want you to understand that it is there to help you. So this sentence or question, do they recognize first you are a sad loser or you look better in photos or just need to get laid? Okay, so to me this person sounds bitter, resentful, and angry. I could be wrong. Sometimes I am, but I've spent a lot of time probing into words. So I'm pretty good at it at this point. So, assuming that they do feel this way, if this person was my client, I would be strongly encouraging them to prioritize healing the pain that is causing them to feel this way, because a bitter projector does not attract invitations. Say it with me. A bitter projector does not attract invitations. Or if they do, the invites are shitty, right? So again, this is not to shame this person. It is really hard when you are a bitter, resentful, angry, burnt out projector and you're like, where are my effing invites, right? And that's why you hear me in these videos talking so much about the importance of deconditioning, because if we don't release those layers of all the experiences we've had that cause us to feel this way, that we would write with this sort of languaging, that we would write this way in a YouTube comment on the content of someone who we have also said, by the way, I really like your content, right? This is a person who is really trying. They're really trying, but they're in pain and they're tripping. And I know that they're not alone, which is why this is a useful video for me to share with you, because if you're a projector who's tripping over any of this stuff, this is common for us as projectors. And we have to just like strip off those layers one at a time so that then you can get invites and they can be wonderful and not shitty. So let's go to this next section, this next part of their comment. Can't we recognize that in ourselves? Is there a magic mechanism that makes us invisible to ourselves? Well, sure, others might have more potential to see our unconscious. Maybe that's where the point lies. Yes, absolutely. It is always easier, not just for projectors, and I'm just will ignore my little comment here for a minute and just point to this part of the unconscious while I think of it. Um, not just for projectors. It is easier for all of us, every single human design configuration. It is easier for other people to see our unconscious than it is for us to see it because we are not conscious to it. But other people can see it and hear it and sense it and notice it and then reflect it to us. It is additionally helpful for us as projectors to have other people point things out to us because our aura is so plugged into other people that, especially unlike the manifester who is connected to their creative urge, as long as we don't get in their way and give them enough alone time so they can hear themselves, the generator and the manifesting generator who are plugged in, as long as they're paying attention and they're not people pleasing, they're plugged in by design to their sacral. Together, this is like such a massive percentage of the population. We're talking almost 80% of the population is designed to be plugged into themselves and know themselves in a very different way than us as projectors. So, yes, others have more potential to see our unconscious. Absolutely. So let's go back to my well thought out notes here. Projectors often struggle to see themselves. It is part of the mechanism of the projector aura. We are so plugged into other people, it is hard for us to see ourselves, but it's not impossible. Now, I've left that dot, dot, dot there as a reminder to myself to explain to you how I do this. One of the things I have come to realize as I've deepened into my spiritual practice is that the universe is holographic and everything outside of me is on some level a reflection of me. If you share this understanding or this belief or this way of viewing the world, you will already know that this is the greatest freaking hack for us as projectors. Because if you are repeatedly seeing something on the outside, through multiple people, it means you hold it inside and you are projecting that out into the world, right? So if you ever are not sure about like what's the next thing that needs to be healed, ideally you've practiced enough self-awareness to be able to hear your thoughts, notice the shitty thoughts that repeat again and again, notice the words that come out of your mouth again and again, especially the limiting stories, and notice what the people around you are reflecting back to you. It's coming out of you and then it's showing up in them. So just look around you, right? You're projecting yourself onto everyone else all the time, right? This is how the human experience works. By the way, this is not just for projectors. I learned this from a generator, one of my most important spiritual teachers, right? So if the greatest hack is realizing like, yes, it is super helpful for us to have other people point things out to us to help us understand where our muck is, where our genius is, but also just look around. Open your eyes and your ears and notice what the universe is showing you about you. Okay, so let's see what I've got here. Still, to me, I think the importance, back to their question or their comment, still to me, I think the importance of invitations is overblown. Okay, this is important. And sometimes it is a unique form that just sounds like a cheesy, unneeded prerequisite to do something you already want to do. So many projectors feel the same way. This is why sharing this comment and using it as a lesson on here on YouTube is such a valuable opportunity. If you feel this way, you are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. But if you want to live an amazing life rather than a vaguely tolerable life, it is essential that you start to play with. Don't take it seriously. Just freaking mess around. Play with, experiment, get curious. What would happen if I started to wait a little bit more often? What would happen if I waited to see what would happen? Now, the greatest fear for a projector. I don't think I've done a video on this. If you want a video on this, tell me in the comments. The greatest fear for a projector is that they'll never get an invitation. That's why we respond to things. That's why we initiate. That's why we hustle. That's why we try and make things happen. Because deep down, we're terrified that we're not good enough, that nobody will love us and no one will fucking invite us. That's why it can be so painful and feel so impossible. And we can come up with so many good reasons. This sounds like a cheesy, unneeded prerequisite to do something you already wanted to do. We can come up with so many different, very clever ways to go. That's not necessary. Whereas deep down, we're terrified. No one wants us. That needs its own video. If that has really landed for you and it really hurts, just feel your feet on the ground and feel your bum on the chair. And maybe put your hands on your face or on your arms, on your shoulders, and just give yourself a bit of love. I want you to know it's not fucking true. It feels true, maybe. If this, little side quest, the undefined throat sometimes can come up with really useful side quests. If this feels really painful, it means it's really true for you. And I want to speak to that part of you that believes that it's not fucking true. Someone somewhere, probably multiple someones somewhere, are going to think you're fucking awesome. But the very first person has to figure that out is you, right? Sometimes the people around us can help us on that journey. But one of the most powerful things I did for myself, and we'll get down to this because this person in their comment like led to it so well, is it's one of the most powerful things I did for myself was love me first. So many more people love me now for me being the dorky, quirky person that I am because I got busy loving me, right? And what happens is when I was, let me speak to my experience, when I was going around trying to make things happen, when I was fishing for invites and responding to things and initiating opportunities, things were happening in my life, but it was like at this last point that I've put here, it was a vaguely tolerable life. I didn't have the depth of friendships. I didn't have the incredible lover that I have now. My work was like not that great. Um, it, all of the coolest things in my life truly have come when somebody recognized, valued me, handpicked me, and invited me into a new something, a new opportunity, a new relationship. I wish there was a way that I could split test your life for you and I could show you this is what it looks like if you respond and initiate and do all the things that you have been conditioned to do. And here's what it looks like if you wait for the invitation. They are night and day. You have a 1 or a 2 or a 3 out of 10 life. I was still doing cool things. I was climbing mountains, I was doing ultra marathons, I was achieving all sorts of things. I had really interesting work experiences. I traveled extensively. It's not that I wasn't doing cool things, but truly, it was like a 3 or no, it wasn't even that. It was a 2 or a 3 out of 10 kind of life. And at the time, I couldn't have told you that because I didn't have a way to split test it. I didn't have a way to be able to see how much better my life could get by waiting for fucking invitations. It is profound. The quality of life. I was still having cool experiences. I would have convinced you that my life was cool. I was busy all over social media telling everyone it was cool. But deep down, I was very lonely and I was getting more and more and more burnt out. And I was feeling deeply bitter. And I was so good at stuffing my anger down that I didn't even realize. And if we could split test your life, then I can tell you that the magic that comes from waiting for the invitation in this second split test where I have been the only way we can really do it is a before and after is to like surrender in, find a way to surrender into waiting for the invitation because the magic, the serendipity, the doors that were opened out of like it's like there would be a wall and I couldn't see a way through, and then a magic invisible door would open and somebody would invite me through the friggin' wall. That's the visual I'm getting now, right? I've never used that example before. That's the first time I've seen that visual. So I want you to know that's what it's like. It's weird. It is so weird when we wait for the invitation because the coolest, weirdest, unexpected, wonderful, magical things happen. And I can say that all day, but until you play with and until you feel really safe, I'm going to do a video on that about feeling safe. Until you feel really safe and actively experiment, you're going to be somebody who will convince yourself of things like this. And it's not that this person is bad. It's just that they're in pain and they can't see another way. If I do only the things that I want to do because my mind has come up with them, I get a 3 out of 10 life. I had a 3 out of 10 life for a long time. It has only been since I've waited for invitations that it's gone 4, 5, 6, 7, and I know it can get even better than it already is. So, not to belabor the point, let's move on. I like your content, by the way, your clarity, experience, upbeat energy, but I'm just saying I don't think life should be so formulaic. Some things are formulaic and some aren't. But the only way that we find the balance of that is through like brave personal experimentation. So if the person who wrote this comment is watching this video, thank you. I'm glad you find the content useful. I hope that this response also feels useful and not combative. The idea is not to fight you, it's just to help everyone grow through the experience. It's a rich learning opportunity for you and the other projectors if you're willing to lean into the discomfort. It is uncomfortable. When I have had friends of mine who have been willing to point out to me when I have been operating not according to my design and they have pushed back on things, it has been very uncomfortable, but very instructive. And I wouldn't be where I am now without having people push back on things and go, yeah, that doesn't feel good. And a lot of it, people are too freaking polite to say anything. So then I have to watch the body language that's closed down or the conversations where people never ask me about myself. It is uncomfortable. I won't lie. But please lean into that discomfort because on the other side is so much fucking magic. It is profound. And finally, this. I'm feeling like it can be like this. Recognize yourself, then you will know when you are being recognized. I think it has a lot or maybe everything to do with presence. This, I had to put it in bold. Projectors across the world. Please read these words in bold and take them in. In fact, write them somewhere. Put them on your fridge. Write them on your office wall if you need to. When you learn how to recognize yourself, everything starts to change. Everything. And I'll just check that that's the bottom of that document before we come out. Everything. And we'll come back to here. And I know I have more notes here. So let's have a look at my notes and collect myself. Everything can change. And I hope that makes sense that when I was talking about a split test life, I hope that you really got that. So thank you very much to the person who wrote this comment. I get that learning how to live your design is a challenging process. Like I really get it. I found it really hard for years. And my hope in sharing the content that I share is that it eases the journey for you and then it makes it a little bit smoother and a whole lot faster, ideally, than what I had to go through. It takes time to learn the theory, it takes dedication to keep experimenting, and it takes courage to do the deconditioning work required to release the many things that are not yours to carry. Somebody else put all that hustling there. Somebody else put the do what you want there. Somebody else put the you have to respond, you have to work hard. If you want something, you have to go make it happen. Somebody else put that there when you were a tiny child and you didn't have any control over that. It's not your fault, but if you want a better life, it is your responsibility. It is our responsibility to go, oh, don't like that one very much. Well, it's in my body and mind. What am I going to do about it? Okay. It is worth it. After all these years, I wouldn't trade my human design knowledge and the experience gained for anything. And if you're finding this process of living your design really difficult, please learn and use a complementary deconditioning tool. Newsflash, waiting 7 years to just following your strategy and inner authority for 7 years will not cut it. I tried. I tried and I tried and I tried and I tried until I was banging my defined head and ajna against a wall. It's like it's not enough. You need a complementary tool. Now, I use and teach tapping, and there are so many different ways you can do it. I'll put a link for that in the video description if you know that you would like to either learn tapping from scratch, improve what you know. You could be a highly qualified master trainer in any of the formally recognized versions of tapping, and I can help you improve your tapping to make it more effective to help you decondition. Because at this point, I have done so much tapping with so many different masterful people, and I can see the gaps and the holes and the limitations in all of it. There is a way to bring it into the body that is even more effective. So if that sounds good, check out the video description. And if you have a general question that you know that I could answer in a video like this, where I don't need to see your chart, then pop it in the comments. I promise to be as instructive and kind and helpful as possible.